thank you very much for joined now by another man who needs no introduction to the Notre Dame football family. Brian Polian rejoins the program this year as the special teams coordinator. And Brian, you're also very well known for your recruiting prowess. And the class just pretty much wrapped up here today. And I know you guys are real excited about the last young man that faxed in. I guess you don't fax anymore, but who sent his official national letter of intent and is now a member of this program.
Yeah, it's just like Groundhog Day for me. It feels like being the last guy on the staff waiting for somebody to come in. But Myron Tago, of course that was going to happen. Tago Vailoa from Kapolei High School and hailing from Ewa Beach in Hawaii. A young man that I got involved with upon my return back here to Notre Dame. Felt an automatic connection to he and his family. My first trip out there, I called back to Coach Elston, to Coach Elko, and to Dave Peloquin in the recruiting office and said, the competition is steep. I don't know if we're going to get him, but I sensed from him the same thing I sensed from Manti many years ago, was that this young man had the courage, the conviction. If he felt like Notre Dame was the right place for him, he had the conviction to do it. And he had the family to do it, the mom and dad that would support a move from Hawaii all the way to South Bend, Indiana. So what a great way to wrap up the recruiting class today with a guy who I think is a dynamic football player. He's a wonderful student, 2 pastors for parents, strong Christian family, just a great kid and somebody that, like I said, in the short time that I've been back, we've been able to draw a real connection to.
There's no doubt that in small doses, the state of Hawaii has been great to this football program. What kind of football player is Myron from what you've seen?
He's a large man. He's 6'3", 6'4", 275 pounds, and not he doesn't look fat. I mean, he'll be a 300 and 315 pound defensive tackle, but he's very, very light on his feet for a man that size. He played end in high school, had an unbelievable senior year, had, I believe, 16 or 18 sacks as a senior, really kind of burst on the scene off of his senior film, which, in today's day and age in recruiting, I think sometimes guys get overlooked if they haven't lit the world on fire as juniors, and his senior film was really exciting. And I had connections out there in the state. Nick Rolovich, the head coach at the University of Hawaii, was on my staff at Nevada. Nick knew a lot about the young man, and in the early stages of doing the research, everything came back incredibly positive. So we decided to go ahead and take a shot at it, see where it would go, and sure enough, here we are on February the 1st, and Myron's here in our family.
You gave us the Groundhog Day reference. I'm curious what today has been like for you in terms of a deja vu moment, because recruiting has been a big part of your legacy as an assistant coach, and now to be back here in this building again on signing day, signing a good class, it's got to bring up all sorts of memories for you.
It does, and they're all positive, and I can't help but think, people forget Hawaii's 5 hours behind, so we were waiting until 7 a.m. Hawaiian time before he could do anything officially, and this one was just like Manti, down to the wire. We didn't know until probably the last 24 hours which way it was going to go. And as I'm sitting there, as the class, the vast majority of the class is in within the first 2 hours, I've been pacing I've literally just been walking the hallways upstairs and making sure that everything went off without a hitch. And it brings back a lot of memories. For me personally, I am excited that in some small way I can make a contribution to this class, because I've only been here, for about a month now, and I'm so excited to be back. I've never felt good about. You don't want to be the guy just sitting in the room enjoying the day. You want there to be a contribution, and Coach Kelly, Coach Elston put me in a position where we took a shot, and we were going to see how it went, and thankfully it worked out. And in some small way, I was able to help grow this class.
I'm sure Brian Kelly would be happy to let you make a larger contribution down the road. your next immediate challenge with this team now becomes overhauling their special teams and taking charge of that. I'm curious, as you look at this incoming class of freshmen, how you analyze them and potentially see guys that can fit for you maybe sooner than later.
Sure. I mean, as we identify guys in this class that we think have a chance to play, often they will get their first taste of playing time in the kicking game, because that way, if they're called upon offensively or defensively, it's not the first time they've been in a Division I college game. They'll be used to the speed. They'll be used to the physicality. As I look at this class, I look at some of the young linebackers and say that guy should help on teams. I look at a guy specifically like Jordan Genmark Heath and say, boy, I'd love to have him going down on the coverage units. The overall athleticism of this class as a special teams coordinator, and often, you look at, as a special teams coordinator, you look at a class, you look at the team through the eyes of the head coach, because I'm not focused on one position group, and I'm certainly not focused on just one side of the ball. We're looking at all, 115 some odd guys. And as I look at this class as a whole, there's a lot of athleticism, and there are no doubt that there'll be some guys. How can you not look at Cole Kmet and think about the things that you can do with that big old athlete, and bringing Jonathan Dorr, who I believe can compete for the kickoff job and help steady the ship there a little bit for us, and that'll have a direct impact to our special teams. So, yeah, looking at it from a big picture point of view, there's some exciting athleticism in this class.
Since you brought up Jonathan Dorr, we'll talk about him a little bit more. From your standpoint, talk about the dynamic of having a young kicker who you think can come in and compete for playing time and be an important member of this team right away, yet at the same time, he's not necessarily going to have the pressure point tallying kicks. You've got an upperclassman kicker who's made a lot of kicks in his life at the same time. You can take the strengths of both.
Yes, I think we told Jonathan, hey, what we want you to be focused on is coming in here and trying to kick touchbacks. I think there were too many times last year in neutral conditions where wind was not an issue, rain, snow, those things, where the ball's coming down on the 5-6 yard line, and that stresses the coverage units. And we need to do a better job of kicking off. And I think Jonathan can try to at least create some competition there pretty quickly. As it relates to not having the added pressure of having to be the field goal guy or the PAT guy, ideally that would be the situation, that Justin would just keep doing his thing. But ultimately it's a meritocracy. Sure. And there's no simpler position to evaluate. You either make them or you don't. Right. There's not a lot. It's not a lot of gray area. So, I have no doubt that he'll come in here. He's really unique. He's 6'3". It was interesting. He was kind of a late addition in the class. We got on him here with about 2 weeks to go, and he came in, and one of the other coaches mistook him for a wide receiver. Really? Said, I didn't know we were taking another wide out. Who's that guy? I said, that's the kicker. Whoa. He's big and athletic and very flexible and long, and it really shows when you watch him kick off. And the other part of his games, other parts of his game will help him develop. But in a perfect world, we can let Justin focus on field goals and PATs and let the youngster go out there and try and boom some kickoffs.
Yeah, and at that size, maybe you've got an 11th tackler on your coverage teams instead of 10.
Yeah, if he gets run over, I'm not going to forgive him. Hopefully he doesn't get to that. That would be a good thing.
You've talked about the athleticism of this young class and getting some of these kids on the field early. How important is speed to special teams?
Oh, it's a big deal now. You've got to be able to run with people, and I know that's a challenge at Notre Dame every year, is to increase your athleticism and finding guys that can run is one thing. Finding the Mike Anellos and the Casey Cullens of the world, the guys that may not be household recruits, or for that matter, Mike wasn't even on scholarship, right. But Mike ran 4.5, but he played 4.5 too, and we've got to reestablish a culture where we are playing on the special teams with our hair on fire, that we understand that it's a one-play series. I know that it's been a hot topic of discussion here through the offseason, and there were some critical breakdowns last year, admittedly, and and I've studied all of that, but I've also seen a lot of big plays too. I mean, CJ is a big-time returner. There's 2 block PATs that get returned for 2-point conversions. There's nearly a 10-yard punt return average, which essentially takes a first down away from your offense. There are some good things here to build on. We just have to, frankly, clean up the coverage units, and we've got to eliminate the big plays against us. And I have no doubt that we'll be able to do that.
I think a lot of Notre Dame fans are excited about seeing you get to work instilling just the things you said. Brian, appreciate your time. I know you're busy today, but it's always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Brian Polian, the recruiting coordinator at the University of Notre Dame, joining us here as we throw it now back to Jack Nolan in the equipment room. Jack?